Well, hi everybody. I'm back again. Real Deal is back, and this is a Real Deal Veterans episode. Everybody who's not necessarily in for the veteran stuff, please watch anyway. This is good information. It's good information to tell your friends and family and your neighbors who this might apply to. But we're here to talk about veterans benefits. I'm here to tell you about or remind you, if you hadn't heard already, I know I didn't do an update on the post town meeting vote on increasing veterans property tax exemptions in the town of Townsend, Massachusetts. Now, if you hadn't heard, the HERO Act, which was passed last year by the legislature and the governor signed it, and all kinds of excitement, which I'm really excited about many of the benefits that came with the HEROES Act. It was really a long time coming, and I'm really glad that we did get what was in that bill. And it's going to take a bit to get the word out to all the veterans. And I want to make sure that I do my part to make sure this information gets out. It's really important and can really have a huge impact on many veterans' lives, especially those who are struggling. And I'm talking today about veterans benefits in Massachusetts that impact disabled veterans. Those are the ones impacted that I'm talking about today. And there's a couple of laws, I think three benefits that I'm going to talk about. The first one I want to talk about is the property tax exemption increase. If you're a disabled veteran in Massachusetts and you own property, or this is very important that a lot of people might not know, or you're married to someone whose name is on the house and yours isn't. If your spouse owns the house you're living in other words, you're married to a person who owns the property you're living in. That's it. I mean, I've said it again. That's exactly what it means. It doesn't mean anything different. Your spouse owns a house, your name's not on the house. These benefits still apply to you and your spouse. Your spouse is married to the disabled veteran. You go in and you get the exemption. I think some people might not know about that little addition. That's not new. That's not new. That is not new. The only thing that changes here is going to be the amount of money. But if you're a disabled veteran, and who doesn't matter whose name the house is in, yours or your spouse's. If it's in your kids, no. I don't know how trusts work. So don't. I think talk to the assessor. If you're in Townsend, talk to our assessor. Whatever town you live in, talk to the assessor. They'll tell you if trusts are okay. If you have a house and it's in trust, which a lot of people do, and I recommend that we do that. I haven't done it, but I need to do it. But if you put your house in a trust, then it saves a lot of probate. That's just, I'm not a lawyer. Okay. That was, I think, might have crossed the line. That might be a piece of legal advice. Maybe not. It's financial advice. But it might save you probate. It should. It probably will. Save you probate costs later. But we should all have us elderly people should have our houses in trust. And ESPN is giving me notifications. I don't know what's going on, but but that's a sidebar. Trust or a sidebar. But if you own your house or your spouse owns your house, and you're a disabled veteran, you're receiving disability payments from the VA, you need to get your property tax exemption in order. That is the first topic I'm going to talk about. Here in Townsend, we doubled our property tax exemption this year. We increased it by 100%. That was voted on at town meeting last month. It's probably May. We had 3 meetings. The town meeting took 3 different sessions. Don't get me going. But on one of them, we've passed the 2 HERO Act articles. And one of them was to increase our property tax exemptions for disabled veterans by 100%. That impacts 119 veterans that are currently registered or that were registered in April when the numbers came up. If you are a disabled veteran and you own a property or your spouse owns the property that you're living your married life in, don't hesitate. Get down to the assessor's office and get your paperwork in. Both parties will probably have to go, or somebody has to go. Just some people are disabled and can't get there, but the assessor's office will help you get this paperwork in. What happened in this, what I'm saying, everything I'm talking about today should apply statewide, except for the 100% increase. Every town in Massachusetts didn't vote that in. It had to be voted at your town meeting, and you need to check with your assessor's office to find out if your town voted it in, if you weren't following the, either if you're a city, you probably needed your city council to vote that in. I don't know how that works. I'm in a town. We're town meeting people. So it has to go to town meeting to determine whether that would pass or not. And ours passed. I want to thank towns and voters for helping the disabled veterans bring us back to 20 years ago, when what the exemptions were valued at for 20 years ago brings everybody up to snuff where they should be. But we doubled ours. Excuse me. I start doing a video and I lose my voice. Okay, so this isn't helping. Wow, I'm talking too much. So we doubled our exemptions, and I want to thank towns and voters for doing that. And I know a lot of veterans have not heard that yet, and that's why I want to do this video and try to reach a couple more veterans in Townsend and even statewide if you need to check in on that. And if it didn't pass, if your town didn't pass it this year, I highly advise, recommend, support, get out there and advocate for yourselves and start pounding on the doors to your elected officials and your veteran support organizations and your veteran service officers. Like, how come we don't have this? Get going. It's very important. Those of you that have been receiving the disabled veterans property tax exemptions, I'm going to pull up a chart and show you what's changed. And I really highly encourage, if you have even, you're getting 10%, it has to be compensable. So 0% isn't going to get you anywhere. If you get 10% or higher, you're going to get something. You get at least, now it's at least $800. If you're a 10% service-connected veteran, you're going to get an $800 property tax exemption. If your town didn't vote this in, then it's still $4. But those of us that have the 100% increase, it's $800, which is two $400 payments instead of two $200 payments. I'm going to go over how this all works in a minute. But first, I'm going to show you this chart. And don't forget, your spouse can own the house. You don't have to. Your name doesn't have to be on the... If you're the disabled veteran, your name doesn't have to be on the deed or the mortgage or anything, even the tax bill. But if you're married to the person that does own the house, your spouse can get the benefit of this property tax exemption. Bring it all down to your assessor's office. There's a form to fill out, and you'll get it. You can't go backwards because we're into another fiscal year. July 1st was a new fiscal year. For property tax exemptions, you can't go back. You have to do it the first half. You have like all summer, all into like almost Christmas, maybe even through Christmas. Not into January. Get it done now. And we procrastinate. All right. Enough on those of you that are eligible and you didn't know. Okay. This is what. All right. I'm going to take a sidebar now. I'm going to tell a little stories. Now, throughout my life, in my military service, I'm retired, but during my military service, after my military service, when I was very active in veterans organizations, And when I just go out in my daily life and I just, we run into each other. Veterans, we find each other out there. We're shopping. We'll just find a complete stranger and start talking to them about the military, right? Don't you? It happens. But when we meet each other, some of the times the conversations are about benefits. And I find that I meet so many veterans, and I always have, when I was in the military and after, that people that just don't know about some of the benefits they're entitled to, and they're not going after. And some of them, depending on the individual, be life changing if you had known about what you could have accessed. Really important. And so it's important. I think it's important. This is me. If you might not think it's important, then don't chase benefits. But it changes all the time. So keeping up with the mail, more than the mail, because everything doesn't come in the mail anymore. It's on the internet. You're watching me on the internet. You got to go on the internet sometimes and search, or go to the mass.gov if you're this is all Massachusetts. Everything I'm talking about here is Massachusetts. If you're from somewhere else, God, I'm spitting now. If you're from somewhere else, then you have your own state benefits. And this part applies to everybody. Keep on top of what's going on in your state with veterans benefits and the VA, because they're changing all the time. I'll bet that there's up to 10% or more of you who are veterans who are listening to this broadcast. You have benefits you didn't know about, and you're missing out. And so you should go look things up. But okay, back to my purpose. I'm going to talk about the increase for towns in Massachusetts, property tax exemptions, and Tiger's coming to see me. He doesn't like it when I talk to you. He wants undivided attention. He's right behind me. Where is he? Where'd he go? Well, he just announced himself and moved on. He just announced his displeasure. Okay, so here's a little chart. This is death by PowerPoint. Oh boy. I'll figure this out. But anyway, so this is the chart. I'm going to get me out of the way. Will that work? Hold on. There, it's a little better. So we have last year and this year. I got last year, which ended June 30th. Okay. There's 5 different exemptions you could have. You have $400 for most veterans that are getting a tax exemption. We're getting $400 last year. This year, starting July 1st, it's $800 property tax exemption. That means it's reduced. Your property tax, on when you get the tax bill, it has all these numbers on the right-hand side somewhere, and it gives how much you owe, and there'll be a reduction. And it's not in the first 2 bills. We have a bill right now that's sitting, waiting for you to pay it this week, or you have an escrow and it's already taken care of. But you have the bill. They send you the piece of paper anyway. But the exemption doesn't come out of our taxes until the actual tax rate is set, and that doesn't get set till December. So the last 2 tax bills, I'm sure this is a statewide thing, that the last 2, we get our taxes quarterly. So our last 2 tax bills, the number here, the $800, will be split between the last 2 payments, and that would be $400 in each quarter. It's the February tax bill, and I think it's May. Those 2 tax bills, you'll see it on there, the reduction, and it's split in 2 payments. So there's 5 different categories. I'm not going to go through each of the categories. I do have a previous video when I was talking about what the exemptions were. I was targeting voters so that they would understand who it is that gets the exemptions and what kind of disabilities we're talking about, who's impacted. And but you can go back and find those videos. It's not, I've been doing a lot of them lately, but you go back, a few videos and you can find it. and I go through more specifics on what these categories are. But basically, if you're a disabled veteran, you know who you are, and you know that you fall into one of these. You're getting 400, 750, 1,000, 1,250, or 1,500 off your taxes before today. From the next bills you're going to see it, you see these next year, it's going to be double. 800, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, or 3,000 property tax exemption. Now, with the rise in housing prices or assessed values, I think this still doesn't pay anybody. Nobody's getting free taxes. I don't think anybody. You might. I mean, you might. It's possible that your tax bill doesn't. If you're eligible for the 3,000, I doubt it. I doubt it. But I really don't think anybody. I don't think these numbers exceed anybody's tax bill. But I'm just going to give a disclaimer on here to say that if these numbers by some strange chance exceeds what your total tax bill is, you will not get any extra money. In fact, I wish I'm not going to pull it back up. I'm not going to look it up. I think, I wish I knew exactly. I'm guessing, and I hate to do that, but I'm not going to tell you how much. I don't think it's any more than 10%. The 10% number showing up, but everybody has to pay at least 10% of their total tax bill. If I'm wrong about that, I'm so sorry. But the big thing I want to say here is if, these numbers can grow, and I'm going to explain that in the next paragraph in my mind. But nobody's getting money back. You don't get cash back from my exemption exceeds what I owe. You owe me money. Not happening. That is not in the law. Nobody's getting a freebie like that. All right? Not happening. Okay. Then I'm going to talk about one more thing on property tax exemptions. And that is, this is where I'm plus, is cost of living allowance. It's an inflation thing. It's not cost of living allowance. I forget, but it's based on inflation. There's an annual increase that's going to be coming at us. I think it starts for this year, 2026, when we get those tax bills. It's going to be a tiny bit more than this. I think, because I think it kicks in this year, or it should, because, yeah, it should. I'm asking some questions of Department of Revenue so that I have complete clarity, because the mass.gov has got some good info on the website, but they don't have what their procedure is going to be on these numbers, on the increase, on the inflation increase. But every year now, the Department of Revenue will determine the CPI, basically, which I'm trying to find out how they're determining that number, because it's not the same. I don't believe it's going to be the same as the federal CPI. Those of us, if you're getting a military retirement, Social Security, or federal retirement, you get an increase every year, right? And we look in October, they tell us how much that increase is. There's all kinds of people speculating on how much it's going to be for the federal government, federal benefits. They're looking at somewhere between 2.5 and 3. I'm going to give you the rumors, but it's based on what the CPI is doing over the next few months. But the final number won't be until October. I don't care who's talking on the internet. The final number does not come out until October. There is no early leaks. The number has no way of being determined before October. So just don't worry about it. But it will be somewhere 2.5. I think it's going to be 2.5 at least, somewhere in there, because of the way the trend is going. So it's going to be in there. It's a ballpark. We're not talking mega bucks outside of that. It's going to be in that window. Even if it's a little bit lower, it's going to be close. But don't go chasing. These people are leaking information. It's going to be this. Don't buy it. Just wait till October. unless you hear something coming out of Washington that says that the president's angry at us one day and he's canceling it, he could do that on the federal side. But on the state side, I don't know. The federal government bases things on the federal year, which is the fiscal year starts October 1st. And they shifted a lot of things to calendar year, but the fiscal year for the federal government is different than the state. So I don't know when the commissioner of the Department of Revenue is going to come up with this CPI number. If I do another video on this topic, I will let you know. I probably will, because these are important things that are going to be coming up. And so if we get a couple of, if you get 1%, you add the percentage, 1, 2, 3, 4%, whatever the CPI is for whatever month I don't know, whatever they come up with. They'll give you a percentage, and then you can just add that to whatever this number is that's on the screen in front of you right now. So, but it'll be nice, and this is going to go on indefinitely, but it's another one of those laws that your town meeting had to vote in. And I'm going to hope that every town did take that one, because it's not that bad. I mean, it's pretty reasonable. It was a very reasonable request to put in a cost of living increase every year for these numbers to make them more viable. When I spoke at my town meeting, I was advocating strongly for both articles. They had to be 2 town meeting articles. I don't know what my cat's doing. I think he got into where the cat food is. So we had two articles. One was for the doubling of the tax exemption, and the other was for the cost of living. They had to be required as 2 separate articles. I think the first one was a no-brainer. The cost of living was pretty easy and understood, because that keeps us. What I was saying, my interpretation of that prevents us from coming back 20 years from now. It doesn't mean we won't, but it should help alleviate the stress on the system, or the stress on veterans who are needing this exemption. And it increases this by inflation, because as we sat here in 2025, the last time we had an increase in this was in 2006. And it effectively, because of increases in property values or increases in taxes, and without an increase in the exemption, it was the equivalent value of our tax exemption was cut in half. So by passing the 100%, it made us whole to where the value of the exemption from what it was 20 years ago, which was pretty much the intent of the law and the intent of the benefit. So doing the doubling, in my definition, only made us whole, made it even, and made it what it was intended to be in the first place. The cost of living, annual cost of living, is less of a strain on cities and towns than doing the doubling, and it increases the cost of living allowance more at a reasonable rate and easier to swallow for budgets. But it keeps the veterans having a little bit more money rather than less every year. Veterans were losing ground every year, and a lot of veterans even lose their homes because of senior citizen disabled veterans in particular. But I'm not going to get on the road. But okay, that's the plus, the increase the property tax. So I think we got that. But again, the highlighted points here is just to inform everybody that your property tax exemption has doubled in Townsend. Everybody else has to go check in with your assessors to find out what the scoop is. And in Townsend also, we approved the cost of living, the inflation increase. I don't know, based on the CPI. We'll see what that is. And if you're in a city or town that doesn't have this, start knocking on doors so you can get it too. Because something fell apart. They weren't talking to you or you weren't talking to them. That's all I'm going to say. I got to get to the slide. Hold on. There it is. Okay, the other one, the next one I want to talk about is excise tax. This is new. Well, let me put it to you this way. No, it's not completely new. I'm not quite sure how drastically this changed. I think you had to have disabled veterans plates. Oh, yeah, you had to go through the RMV's Medical Advisory Board to get an excise tax exemption in the past. But starting at the end of 2024, okay, so a year ago, because HEROES Act came in August of 2024. So if you were 100% service connected then, or whatever, yes, once this passed, if you were 100% service connected or TDIU, those of you that are TDIU know what I'm talking about. It's 100% disability rating or unemployable due to service-connected disability. And in the VA system, we call that TDIU, total disability based on individual unemployability. You're not 100%. If you're 100%, you're 100%. But if you're TDIU, that means your disability rating is not 100%. It's 90, 80, 70, 60. I think on an extra scheduler rating, these are all big terms that you don't worry about them. But you could be as low as 40% with TDIU, but your percentage disability has no relevance to this. If you're 100%, you got 100%. You're not what Combat Craig calls the Hundo Club. All right. Some people don't like that saying. I think it's cute. But anyway, but if you're TDIU, because it says or here, or. So, or deems them unemployable to the VA. Now, there's no more RMV Medical Advisory Board. If you got the documentation that you have 100% disability or that you're TDIU, you can go down to your assessor's office. You can do this all. There's forms online. You can get them. Just go to you can just use Google to help you get there. If you need help with this, I should be saying this from the very beginning of this video. If you need help with some of these things and I've lost you, you're struggling, you're trying to figure this out, let me know. Reach out to me. Find a way. I don't think I have an email. I might have an email address on my account that you can access. You can email me, but if you need to contact me about some of this stuff, I'll help you if you need me. If it's probably better, well, try to do it yourself. If you can't, if it's too much, I get it. Contact Natalie in Townsend. It's Natalie. She's our veteran service officer. If you're still struggling, get a hold of me. And I'm not trying to put you off, but I mean, yeah, try to, some of this stuff is you can do yourself. But if you were 100% last year and you paid your excise tax, you got your excise tax bill and you just paid it, and because you weren't, you didn't pass, you got 100%, or your TDIU, but you didn't qualify based on the RMV's Medical Advisory Board requirements, then you're just still paying your excise tax as is. And you probably didn't know about this. Well, you can get that money back. Money back. You can get money back. You have to do an abatement. And you can go back 3 years on an abatement. Now, this whole thing doesn't go back 3 years. Don't get going here. But if you didn't know, that's okay. You paid it already. You filed for an abatement, but you can't go back beyond 2024. It became effective in 2024. So if you were already qualified by being 100% service connected or TDIU with the VA, you need to take that letter to and fill out the abatement request through your assessor. And you have to, here's the other part. I'm going to highlight this. I think it will highlight one passenger vehicle, or oh, my cat is climbing up my back. Hi there. One passenger vehicle or pickup truck. Okay, I have one of each, but one vehicle. So you take the most expensive vehicle you have, and you get if you've already paid your excise tax, go down and get an abatement, and then you never have to pay it again on that one vehicle. You got to, I guess, time to time you're going to change the vehicle, so you got to work with your assessor. You might get a bill next year, and then you just have to you don't have to do an abatement if you don't pay anything. You just deal with your assessor and say, I shouldn't be paying this, and they'll work it out. Don't go down at your assessor's office yelling and screaming and pounding on the desk. Okay, don't do that. It's not their fault. There's a lot of information coming at us, and this is one of the important ones. This can be expensive, but it's another benefit if you're 100% service connected or TDIU. So you just need, if you go, everything now with the VA is supposedly available online. Assuming the va.gov website's working and you need to be registered there, it's not that difficult if you're on the internet. If you're not on the internet, get somebody to help. And you can go down the Townsend Library. They have a bunch of computers in there. And like, if you can't figure this out, I'll help you. If there's particularly our seniors who can't get on the internet and stuff, I'll help you. But on va.gov, for those of you that are up there on the internet, when you there's determination letters, and you can edit them. Well, when you're going to print it out, the VA, I'm not saying edit like falsify any information. I don't think that's even available. That's not available. They don't let you do that. But within the VA letter, you can, it asks you which statements you want in it. Like for some benefits that the letter is used for, you don't need all the information. So it asks you to check boxes. So some things are private. Like you don't need to tell the assessor's office how much money you're getting for your disability. Or if you're TDIU, you don't have to show them anything about what percentage you are. You don't have to check that box. You want to, okay? So there's different choices on this letter. Take your time with it, but you print out this letter for the purpose that you're using it for, and then you submit that. You don't need your whole, when they send you this 25-page thing about how they determine your disabilities, that's nobody's business. It's not the assessor's office business what your disabilities are for. You just need this form and your abatement form. You go down there and you'll get your money back. It takes, my town, it's about 6 weeks to get your money back, which, hey, you're getting your money back. Don't complain. But if you have an excise tax bill somewhere, you don't do this. Make sure you bring all these. You don't need the abatement form, but you need to talk to your assessor about not paying your excise tax, so that and they'll take care of it. They'll help you. All right. So this part of it is important, really important, because you don't need the RMV's Medical Advisory Board anymore. It's strictly based on your VA letter, which has added a ton of people to this list. Okay. I think you used to have specific types of disabilities, but now they don't require that. It's any 100% disability. So my goal today was to go over some veteran benefits out of the HERO Act, specifically mostly my town, but secondary to that, statewide, on some of the key benefits that you might not have heard about. And that's the property tax exemptions, who's eligible for the property tax exemptions, the excise tax, and the disabled veterans plates, and hopefully I didn't give you bad information. We'll find out. It is. I think the disabled veterans plate thing is a little confusing. It could be me. It could be that I'm just confused. But I'm going to look back into it and go into it deeper. Sometimes I look at it and I say, no, I can't do that. I'm not eligible. I'm not going to get that. And then other times I go, well, maybe I am. So I'm going to look in it deeper again, and I'll let you know. I'll be embarrassed if I'm not, but that's okay. If I'm not, I'm not. I'll get over it. It is what it is, and my health is there. Whatever. It's not going to get better. I'm only going to get worse. But nobody worry about me, okay? My friends and stuff, don't worry. I'm just talking about veterans benefits today. So what I want to do too over time is keep doing veteran benefit videos. And I want to also say, I think I said earlier in this video that there's a lot of people on the internet that talk about veterans benefits. If you do need, I highly recommend looking for some of this stuff. Veterans benefits, both from the VA and from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts or whatever state you're in, they change all the time. And they don't necessarily send you a letter with a personal invitation that, hey, your benefits are improving. You might want to look at it. They don't tell you that. You got to go looking. And I want to help you with that. And as I said earlier, throughout my life, I've met veterans regularly who didn't know about benefits that would have made a big difference in their life had they known about them before. And sometimes it still helps. And I'm hoping this video did that, but there's other benefits out there. And you can watch endless hours of different people with YouTube channels that just talk all day long, every day, about different veterans benefits. And sometimes you could say, I am so sick of hearing this over and over and over again. Or it's, they're talking a lot of stuff and they're not giving out any information. And I'm sorry that sometimes it feels that way, because there's a lot of benefits you already know about. It's like, I don't want to hear this again. But you watch them and you learn something new. You get a new twist and you go, oh, wait, he said this one thing and it changed my life. And somebody's going to let something, it's not like they're letting something slip, but we all don't know everything all the time. And there's new benefits that you might hear about by watching these guys, men and women, mostly guys that have all these YouTube channels on veteran stuff. But listen to some of them. There's new things. And I want to try to have one section of my YouTube experience, my YouTube presence, on helping get the word out on veterans benefits, because I think it's really important. It's something that's important to me. And I know it's important to a lot of veterans and I know all of you aren't getting the word. So hopefully this video has been helpful, and hopefully there'll be more to come. And please reach out to me through the comments, or if I have an email address on this site someplace, some emails. If I have my email up, it's not one I check every day. So I think it's on there. I'm not sure. But leave something in the comments, and don't put your personal information in the comments. Do not put your name and address and phone number in the comments, because it's on the internet, and I'm sorry. But I'll make sure there's a way for you to get a hold of me where it's a little bit more private. If you're here in Townsend, you probably already know how to get a hold of me. So we'll keep working on that. All right, so I'm going to stop babbling, and I want to thank everybody for watching. If you want to get notified when I do more videos on this topic or others, make sure you subscribe, and then check off on the notification bell that comes up when you subscribe. And also, if I could ask everyone to like this video, that way both subscribing and liking and leaving comments, it helps add to the algorithm. And I want to tell you, I am not monetized. I don't get money from ads. You might have to suffer through some ads to watch my videos. You can get rid of that by getting a premium account through YouTube. It's not mine. It doesn't. I don't get any money from that. But I don't get money from ads, even though you might be seeing them, because I'm not big enough. So, but if you do like and subscribe and leave a comment, it increases the viewership. More people will know that I'm doing these videos, and they'll get information. And I do what I can to help people find my channel, but you can help too. And I really appreciate all your help. So thanks for watching, and I hope many of you stayed to the end. And so I'm going to see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.